Hey everybody, this is Brian Knowlton with HowToEarnMoney.TV. It doesn't matter if you've never made a dime online before. Through my step-by-step video tutorials and interviews with industry experts, I'm going to show you how you can make money online. I'm here today with Pat Flynn. He blogs over at smartpassiveincome.com and also has a show on iTunes. You could get it through iTunes. It's also named Smart Passive Income, right?
Yep.
Great. He's really, to me, you're a rock star in this industry.
Thank you. It's always weirds me out when people say that, but thank you. I appreciate that.
In less than, I think, 5 years, you've just totally seemed to come onto the scene and really make a huge name for yourself. And, with all the great information that you share on your website, he shares tons of great information on how to make money online, creating passive income streams, blogging, even lifestyle design. You cover it all there. And the way that you deliver the content is just amazing. I really think that's where you got your biggest reputation boost, is just because you're super straightforward and honest when it comes down to making money online.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've always wanted to interview you since I found out you lived in San Diego. How can we pass this up? Beautiful day in San Diego.
Yeah.
And we have a little bit of a heat wave coming. And, I just wanted to thank you sincerely for being on the show.
Well, my pleasure. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm really excited.
Great. We're right around July 4th, so it's the 11th of July now. Did you, before we get started and everything, did you happen to catch any of the San Diego fireworks?
No, I didn't, because there's some fireworks around the area where I live that I usually go to at the local high school, and so I didn't know what happened until the next morning when I saw everyone talking about it on Twitter, people messaging me like, "Hey, were you there?" And I was like, "No," and then I saw the video, and I was like,
"Yeah,
I wish I was there," because that's kind of a once in a lifetime thing. I mean, obviously someone's going to be fired for that, but
yeah, exactly.
A lot of people wait in their hours.
Exactly.
And I don't know if they pay money to watch that show, but
yeah, I think a lot of people. What ended up happening was in San Diego here we have a huge bay, and they put on a gigantic fireworks show. They have like 3 or 4 barges filled with fireworks, and then they also have one of the piers along the beach that has fireworks on it, and they synchronize it all.
Yeah, with music and everything.
Yeah. And I've seen it from afar before, and just watching it just looks like all of San Diego County is having a fireworks show at once. And this year we went down, and we just went down towards the bay.
So you were actually there?
We weren't there to watch that one. We were there to watch the SeaWorld fireworks.
Yeah.
And SeaWorld puts on a great show. It's like 30 minutes, a couple minutes from my house. Don't have to mess with traffic. And so we went down, and we were right in between SeaWorld's fireworks and where the big bay boom, was. And it was crazy. My daughter thought we were getting bombed, because what turned out was, I think 2 of the barges, maybe 3, went off all at the same time. And instead of having a 20 or 30-minute show, they had like 17,000 fireworks go off in
27 seconds, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it was totally insane. I mean, when we saw it, you could catch from one of the barges that we saw, it just lit up the sky, and it was crazy. It was like, wow, this is going to be one crazy show. And then it was like nothing. You're like looking at your watch, you're like, wait, their show started at 9 and it's like 9:01. So, oh man, that was crazy.
Millions of dollars in less than 30 seconds.
Yeah, totally crazy. But, I just had to bring that up. Crazy 4th of July. But now we're getting this nice heat wave coming, so it's beautiful. I was curious, a while back when I was watching one of your shows, or hearing an interview on you, I think you came from Connecticut or something.
Yeah, I was actually born in Connecticut.
You were born in Connecticut?
Yeah.
What brought you to San Diego?
My dad's job there, they shut down, and then there was sister offices either in San Diego or Florida, so he had to make a decision between San Diego and Florida, and he chose San Diego. And so I came to San Diego to enter the 3rd grade, and it was such a big difference. I mean, just the way people are, and then the weather, of course. I mean, I do miss the snow, but luckily we're only a couple hours away from that too, so I mean, it's like perfect here. I don't think I'll ever move out.
Yeah, that was my next question, because I mean, I tried it for a very limited extent, and I came back after like not even 8 months. It was like 6, 7 months. I was just like, oh my God, what did I do? And so,
It's a great place, and plus I have all my friends and family here too, and
yeah,
so I couldn't think of a better place to live than San
yeah,
Diego.
it's beautiful. It's really with the type of lifestyle. I mean, the type of passive income streams that you created, you could live anywhere that you'd want. And you're still choosing to stay in San Diego, huh?
Yeah,
That's
it's not about how big and luxurious a lifestyle I could live. It's just about being where I can be happy, and
yeah,
so I'm there, and so I'm not gonna buy fancy cars or move to an expensive area. And San Diego is relatively expensive, but I'm
yeah,
not gonna move to Europe or anything like this just because I have the money for it. I'm where I
right.
want to be, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and that's what same thing really comes down. I mean, the location. I love San Diego for so many different reasons, but I do think about it from time to time. Like I did briefly move to Arizona, and the cost of living was way cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
and the houses were way cheaper, and being able, I mean, if you have passive income streams, you're afforded the availability to go anywhere that you would like and travel around or move where you'd like. But yeah, it does free up um, your location.
Yeah,
You
and a
know,
lot of
so,
people do that. A lot of people are making good money online. They're traveling. Tim Ferriss is going everywhere. I mean, he's
yeah,
kind of the person who inspired me to get into this, along with some other people. But really, every person has a different kind of happiness, and mine is just staying in one place.
yeah,
So I mean, it just depends on whatever makes you happy.
yeah, definitely. Um, have you always been an entrepreneur?
No, actually, before I started online business, I was very into the corporate lifestyle. I was working at an architecture firm, and I loved it. I actually really, really loved my job, and I was doing everything I could to get better at it. And I was going to workshops. I was paying to get more expertise in the area of architecture. I was taking tests that I didn't even need to take. One of them was a test called a LEED exam, which is about green buildings and sustainable design and things like that, and just to help my resume out. And when I passed that test, I actually got promoted, and I got a better salary. And I was like, this is awesome. Next, I'm going to do the architecture exam. But then that's when things started to happen in the economy, where I kind of got kicked out of that industry,
Oh wow,
and then started doing online business from there. Really taking what I knew from the LEED exam and that test, and building a business out of that. And that's kind of how I got started.
yeah,
Um, and so that the rest is history after that. But I actually do miss, like, a lot of people who kind of live the lifestyle that I live are like, I would never work, and now knowing where I am, I probably could say no, I would never work, because I'm just so happy with the freedom and time that I have, especially to hang out with my family.
right,
That means the most to me. But it's not that I was disgusted with the 9 to 5 lifestyle, and I really loved my job. I miss architecture a lot.
yeah. I would imagine because that's a super creative industry.
Yeah, I love it because you work on something so long, and then you can actually walk through it and
Yeah,
experience it. And I kind of take those abilities and the joy that comes out of doing architecture, and I apply that online. I'll work on a project for a really long time, and then I can't obviously walk through a project, but I can see how other people experience it or how it's changed their lives. And the
right.
more I can do that, the more fulfillment I have. So
Have you ever thought of doing side projects, or do you design? I mean, I'm
uh,
sure you design your own stuff.
yeah, I mean, just for fun, like I have a sketchbook with just random drawings and interesting house ideas and things
Yeah,
like that. I mean, I would love to design my own house someday,
yeah,
like get a chunk of land and build on it. But beyond that, these architecture projects take years sometimes. I mean, I was working on hotels that were in Vegas that were,
oh wow,
I came in during the middle of the project after 5 years of planning, and then there's still another 5 years left before it's finally finished. So it's a
right.
really long, drawn out process, really stressful, 80-hour weeks.
Oh my God.
And at the time, I loved it, and I didn't really realize what else was available to me
Yeah.
until I got laid off. And I always say that my layoff was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, no kidding. You wouldn't have followed your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, from everything that I've read about you and, research and things, you really seem to have just jumped right onto the scene. You know, my viewers definitely don't know your story. The people that mainly watch my shows on Roku are really beginners in the affiliate marketing industry. They're really starting to just get the initial steps, and they're doing their research.
Mhm.
They're doing their, they're checking out different methods of making money online. But I really like your story. And since we're talking about, your layoff, what happened to make you, or what did you do to start making money online?
Right. Well, like I was talking about earlier, I had this job in architecture and I got laid off. And I took my experiences with the LEED exam, which actually, funny story, when I was still working, to help me pass that exam, I started a blog because I knew a blog was a great way to manage content. And because I was traveling so much for my job, it was easier for me to study off of a blog that I created. And just the fact of typing everything, it helps with memorization. And, when I was traveling, I could go on my laptop and just go on the site and study. And I could share that site with my coworkers, as opposed to having a huge chunk of notes and carrying all these books around. That was my way of studying.
Oh, so you built. Did you use something like WordPress?
Yeah, I used WordPress. I was familiar with blogging just from college when I set up a blog to talk about what I ate and kind of the parties I went to, and just to keep my family interested, or understanding what was going on in my life.
So then you used it as a tool to communicate with your with people that you work with.
Yes,
and
awesome. Myself too. So I really had no intention of ever creating a business out of this. I had no idea what was going to happen. Actually, after I passed that exam, I just left that site there, and I was like, okay, I'm done with it. I'm not going to do anything with it anymore. If anyone else is interested, I'll just say, hey, you can go to the site, and I have some notes that might be helpful to you. And again, that's much easier than saying, okay, I'm gonna photocopy all my notes and send it to you, and it's all people go to websites to learn stuff. So I figured I can help my coworkers out like that.
That's great.
But when I got laid off, and I actually did try to get another job in architecture, I was like frantic. I was like, what's going to happen to me? I was going to get married in just a few months. I needed a way to support my family, but nobody in the architecture industry was hiring anymore. I mean, nobody was building anything, so nobody needed any designers to build those buildings.
Right.
So there was absolutely nothing I could do except get a job at McDonald's or something.
Yeah, those were the dark days.
Or paper push. And I had started to hear about all these great success stories of people making money online and doing wonderful things. And so I started research online business and blogging, and eventually learned that if I had a website that had traffic coming to it, we could potentially make money off of it if you're providing value to people. And I thought to myself, well, I have a website, and my coworkers really liked it. Maybe there's something I could do with the site that I already have, help other people pass the LEED exam. I mean, I have nothing else. I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So I might as well give it a shot. So I was like, okay, I need to get traffic to the site. I need to keep track of how many people come to my site. I had no idea how I was going to market it or whatever. First thing I did was put a Google Analytics on the site. The next day, after that information populated, as far as how many people are coming to the site, thousands of people were already visiting that site.
No way.
I swear. And I had no idea why this happened, how it happened, but people around the world, not just the U.S., but in India and in Europe and all these other places I had no idea that this exam was actually worldwide.
Wow.
And so I guess what happened, now that I'm here and I know exactly what happened, I wrote so much information, like for 2 or 3 hours a day for almost a year. I was putting stuff on that website, and Google loved it, I guess.
Oh yeah, just totally fresh, unique content.
Unique. I mean, nobody was doing that, and I had so much information on there. Anytime someone had a question about the exam or something in that exam, my site would pop up first, and then people would catch on and say, "Hey, there's this awesome site. I just found it," and they would share it with their friends. And I eventually found out about track backing and finding out where other people are linking to your site from. All these forums in the architecture industry were linking back to my site. So I had all this traffic coming in, and I said, awesome. Now what?
Yeah.
Okay, the first thing I learned was you could put AdSense on your site. Really quick and easy. Just put some code on your site to potentially make money from people clicking on ads that Google automatically places on your site based on the content that's put on there. So I did that. First day, I made like $4. And that was the most amazing feeling in the world. I mean, I could find $4 in my car and in between the seats right now, but just to know that I was making money online, and I was doing it in a way that wasn't like I was scamming anybody. It was I just put code on a website that had information that could help people, and I started to make money. So then I started to see $5 a day, $10 a day, and obviously that's not enough to live off of. So I researched a little bit more, and I learned about private advertising, or basically cutting the middleman out, Google, and going to companies directly and saying, hey, I have this website with all this traffic. I'll rent space out on the site, and I'll let you put a banner on there for X amount of dollars per month. So I actually negotiated with a couple companies. I called them. again, something I was way out of the box for me, out of my comfort zone. But I was like, what's the worst that can happen? They'll say no. I mean, this is what I got to do. So I call these companies, and this company's like, yeah, I'm interested. You get a lot of traffic. What's your price? And I was like, I didn't even think about that. And I just spit out a number of $50 a month. They're like, done. And I was like, well, that was fast.
Wow.
And then I called another company, and I tried $100 a month. They're like, yep.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, let me actually try and figure out how much really I can get from this. And I actually called a number of other companies, and some of them said no, and got to a point where I was charging $350 a month for a few companies to advertise on the site, basically just putting a 125 by 125 pixel banner ad
really
on the site. And I was doing, at that point, that was like a month after I started monetizing with AdSense, and things were going really well, and making $1,200 a month, which was great.
Wow. Yeah.
And I know this sounds like things are happening really fast, but remember, I spent a good year pouring content and time, hours a day into this, and that's something that I always try to reiterate, because people see my income reports on Smart Passive Income and are like, wow, you made this happen so fast, but it didn't happen fast. And anyone who says you can make money overnight, it's just not true. They're just trying to make money off of you.
Exactly.
So going back to the story, I was doing okay, and then I got really interested in internet business. I wanted to get and surround myself with people who were really successful. And then I eventually learned about this thing called mastermind groups, where you can join a group of people who are also into whatever you're into, and you can just talk about whatever it is and help each other reach your goals and stuff. And I actually joined an online course with Sterling and Jay from Internet Business Mastery, actually. And there was a group of people in that course who were from San Diego.
Oh, wow.
So I said, okay, I want to meet up with you guys. And they're like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's all meet up. And I was the least experienced of everyone there. And so we met up at, I think it was a Panera Bread or something.
Yeah.
And we all talked about who we were and what our stories were, and what businesses we had. And I was the one making the least amount of money. And I told them my story, and they're like, dude, you have to write an ebook or create a product or something for your audience. You have such potential. And I was like, an ebook? What is an ebook? Like, this is 2008. I had no idea. And they're like, it's an electronic book, just like create a study guide like you normally would, but it's electronic, so people can download it. You can set it up to be delivered automatically. I was like, what? This is crazy. They're like, read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And I was like, okay, I read that. I was like, this is amazing. I got to do this. So I sat down for a good month and a half. I wrote that ebook out. It was basically all the same information that was on the site. And that's what actually scared me too. I was like, why would anyone pay for the same information they can get for free? But I said, okay, what have I got to lose? These guys are experienced in internet business. I'll listen to them and see what happens. Long story short, first month after I launched that book, I had made $7,905.
That's totally crazy.
And it was just a life-changing experience for me. And not only was I making that much money, people were emailing me saying, thank you so much for cutting out all the time I was going to spend trying to research how to pass this exam. You're saving me a ton of money. One person actually said, you're charging way too little for your book. I'm a business person. I own my architecture firm. I want you to increase your price.
How much was the book?
It was $19.95. And
my God.
The next, for a study guide that can help you pass an exam that costs $400 to take, that's nothing. Yeah. And he's like, trust me, raise the price, you'll see. And I said, okay, this person's more experienced than I am. I'll do it and see what happens. So I raised the price by 50%. I raised it to $29.95. More sales, more customers actually bought my book because it was more expensive. And I actually tested a bunch of different price points, and $29.95 was the one where I got the most. Yeah, and I eventually learned what happened was because it was so cheap, people thought it was a cheap book that didn't have good information in it.
Perceived value.
Yeah, and I tried to get up to the prices of the hardcover books, which were around $69. But because it was an electronic book, people saw that as not, that it shouldn't be as much as that. So I eventually landed on $29.95, and I was making $14,000 a month, $20,000 a month.
Holy cow.
And I went back to my mastermind group. I was like, thank you. I owe you guys so much. Like, you guys have changed my life. And they're like, it doesn't stop here. You could do a lot more. How about create an audio guide for your book? And I said, how do I do that? They're like, just record what your book is and sell it along with your book as an MP, like a group of MP3 files. I was like, that's a great idea, because if I was studying, I would have loved to just be listening to something, whether I'm at the gym or, in the car or something. Yeah, absolutely. So I sat down for 2 days. I recorded maybe half of it, and I started to listen to what I recorded, and I said, this is crap. Like, I would not, like,
Really?
it was just, I don't know how, but I was just reading off, and for some reason, I was pausing and saying and like, and,
yeah,
I was terrible
it's
at
like my first podcast.
Yeah, I mean, listen to my first video. It's the same thing, but it was terrible, and I scrapped it, and I went back to them. I said, I can't do this. They're like, oh, you actually try to create it yourself? And they started laughing, and I was like, what? And they're like, just outsource it. Like, find an audio or find a voice talent that can do it for you. And I was like, there's people that do that?
Wow.
As you see, I was like learning this whole thing while it was happening. And they're like, yeah, there's people out there. Go on elance.com, put up a job and say you want someone to read your book and create high quality audio. So I did that. I got 15 people that day to give me audio samples of them. And I chose this woman named Trish. And she did the job for me in 2 weeks. It was beautifully done, and I packaged it together, and I doubled the amount of money I was making. I was making up to $30,000 a month at that point.
God.
And it was just a life.
And how old were you at that point?
25.
25, making $30,000 a month.
It was crazy. I mean, just to think about how much money I was making in architecture, which was, I was getting a paycheck for less than $2,000 every 2 weeks.
Wow.
It was an incredibly life-changing experience, and I want to share that with everybody because my first initial impression of internet business before I got into it was it's scammy. People are just trying to make money off of you,
Yeah.
But I was doing it in a way where people were actually thanking me, and I was getting paid for it. And I was like, this is amazing. People should share all of their expertise and make money for it. So that's why I created the Smart Passive Income blog, with passive income being kind of the way to stand out from everyone else who was talking about it, because there were so many other make money online blogs. I wanted to figure out how I could be different.
Yeah.
And my differentiation factor was the fact that you can set up these businesses to be automated. So people could come to my site, which is greenexamacademy.com. They could buy a book or an audio guide or a combination of the two and purchase it, and it gets automatically delivered to them. I don't have to be there at all in order for that transaction to happen. And I share all my techniques, and I've since created new businesses, new passive income businesses, and just sharing it all, and because ebooks aren't for everyone. So I want to see maybe online courses are better, or maybe iPhone apps or something. So I actually have an iPhone app business that's making $6,000 to $10,000 a month passively as well, just creating apps and outsourcing it. That's something I learned from prior experiences, and having other people who are experts build the apps for me, and then I put them on iTunes, and we're making good money off of that. I since started getting into niche sites, so just for fun, publicly on the blog, I built a niche site from scratch and shared everything, how I did that step by step, and picked an odd kind of niche in the security guard training industry. And I know nothing about security guard training, and the only thing I know is that my mom's a security guard and she loves her job, but that's the only thing. So I kind of challenged myself to see if I could potentially make money from this industry I knew nothing about. And in 73 days, I got that site to #1 in Google.
Wow.
As far as, you might be asking yourself, well, how did you know what to put on it?
Right.
I actually did the research, and I figured out what people who are looking to become security guards, what they want to know. And, I was one of those people. So I knew exactly what to put on the site, and now it's making about $2,000 a month just purely off of AdSense. And I'm right now working on trying to, add in some affiliate income, potentially a product.
$2,000 off of AdSense. That's hardly heard of these days. That's amazing. What type of traffic do you get to?
800 visitors a day, 800 unique visitors a day. So I can't really disclose click-through rates and stuff. It's against Google's terms, but
you're getting good click-through rates.
It's good click-through rates. I test and experiment, and I'm always trying to optimize all those numbers and test. That's a big thing for me now that I have all these things set in place. And when I say passive income, it's not like I just set it up and I can walk away forever.
Right.
I'm still maintaining those sites. It still takes maybe an hour a week the Smart Passive Income blog is my most time-consuming kind of property, but I don't really consider that passive. But all my other things like Green Exam Academy, I spend maybe an hour a month on it, just upkeeping it, and it's making, right now, the industry is changing and stuff, it's still making $4,000 to $8,000 a month at this point.
So what, at this point, I'm going to go through some of the stuff that you have done in the past as well. But at this point, it sounds like you're doing a little bit of the niche blogging, where you find a specific topic and you create a website with lots of good, valuable information, and you're making money off of that one with AdSense.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the product that you've created on another topic that you knew tons of information about. You packaged it together and you're selling a product that way. And your iPhone apps as well. And that's leaving out all the affiliate income that you're making, which is
yeah, we didn't even talk about that yet.
the complete insanity. But what direction are you going right now? Are you looking to focus on one of those specific things? Do you like to have everything kind of open? And I know we haven't talked about affiliate marketing yet, but the Smart Passive Income blog, and with all the traffic that you're getting through podcasting on iTunes and stuff like that, that is just, I'm going to go into the income report in a second, because your affiliate earnings blow my mind.
Yeah, they're crazy right now. It's unbelievable to me too. But
and it's incredible success, man. You've worked hard for it, and I really think what it all comes down to is, you do something I used to call relationship marketing. But you're just giving information. The old school people that used to teach money how to make online were people like the Rich Jerk, and he was a full-on jerk, and it was hilarious. And I don't think he probably made really that much money. He did get very popular, and
he had a great branding.
Yeah,
he had good branding, and that's for sure.
It was funny, and but he was definitely one of those scammy type marketers. Other people in the industry, it's just the mentality has completely changed from hard selling. And I still have that problem. When I got started on the internet way back when, I was doing hard sells, and I was pushing ideas and software, and, but I was doing a lot of merchant type sales. I wasn't really trying to teach anyone anything at that point. But when I started teaching real estate appraisers how to make more money as a real estate appraiser, I got into that sales mentality again. And for years, I just didn't see any results until I really started to become like, I'm not going to sell information. I'm just going to provide really high quality information. That's what I want to do anyhow. News and tips, things like that. And eventually built up a huge audience of people that really liked to see what I was talking about. And then I developed some products, and recently built a membership site where people, it's kind of like the Internet Business Mastery, where it's a group of people that come into a private membership, and they pay monthly for that membership. Tons of great information in there. But without changing my mentality of being completely sell, I would have never got to that point. And do you think, by you being completely open and honest and really delivering information that people just love to consume, how is that the business model that you took from the beginning? Because I see in the beginning you had the income reports pretty much from the very beginning, and the niche site duel, and I'm not sure how much longer, after that you started with the podcast. But how do you think, what gave you that idea of presenting information that way? Because to me, that was new.
Yeah, nobody else was doing that. And I kind of asked myself, well, why not? And I think back to my first business with Green Exam Academy. I had given away everything people needed to pass the exam. Yet, when I created that ebook, for some reason, people bought it.
Yeah.
And what really struck me was some people bought it, even though they had already passed the exam.
Really?
Yeah. They said, Pat, I feel like I owe you.
Oh.
I feel like I owe you for everything you've done for me for free. And I was doing research on this, and psychologically, when you're given something, just something in you wants to give something back. And that's kind of, I guess that's what's happening here. I just give everything away for free, and whether you want to call it psychology and reciprocation, or the universe and karma, I just feel like the more I give away, the more I get back in return. It's just such a beautiful business model. And the nice thing about it is I can go to sleep at night knowing that I've helped people, and people are willing and wanting to pay me back in return. And that's where the affiliate income on Smart Passive Income comes through. Because on Smart Passive Income, I don't sell any products yet.
Right.
all I do is I go through the different processes of building different kinds of businesses. And sometimes in those processes or whatever, there's tools and services that I use that have affiliate programs or partnership programs. And, for example, if I'm sharing how to build a niche site, one of the first things you need is obviously a domain and hosting to go along with it. And exactly. I have an affiliate relationship with a certain hosting company, and I just have that link that people can click through. And if they make a purchase through that link, I get a commission.
Yeah.
And I'm very open and honest about the fact that I earn a commission off of those links. And a lot of times people will go out of their way to make sure that they go through those links to make sure I get paid, which is awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of when I first started affiliate marketing, I thought it was just try to mask everything and make everything just seem like it's all natural, and that I wouldn't make money off of it, because I thought that if people knew I was making money, they wouldn't want to go through those links.
Right.
But I found that by actually exposing that those are actually affiliate links on my site, some people are like, "Oh, awesome! That's the link I'm going to make sure I go through." Some people don't even know what affiliate marketing is. So they're like, "Oh, you actually get paid if I go through your link? Well, then by golly, I'm going to go through your link then,
Yeah.
Did I just say by golly? I never say that. But, yeah.
They said it, not you.
We can do that now. Yeah, so it's just a beautiful thing. And I mean, even just talking about the hosting company by itself, I'm earning $20,000 a month now from just the hosting company. And there's other tools in there like, email service providers like Aweber that I promote as an affiliate, because those are tools and services that people actually need to reach that end goal. They're not things that are going to make me more money. I don't promote things I don't use. I don't promote things that are there just because the commissions are great. I promote things that are free because it's part of the process to help my audience get to where they need to go.
Right.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's completely valuable, and that's, really when I started following you, I really started to learn that information from you, with really, if you're going to be selling something, you're going to be providing great value to them, and if there's products and services that just go along with it that you're using yourself and that that would benefit your viewers, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people appreciate honesty, and people are a lot smarter these days on the internet than they were before, so they're not going to get duped as easily.
Yeah.
And honesty is the best policy. Actually, it's funny because I went to El Pollo Loco yesterday, and I went through the drive-thru, and when they gave me my food, they gave me a little thing of coupons, and at the top of the coupon book, it said, "Coupons to make you come back. Honesty is the best. We think honesty is the best policy." I'm like, this is exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And they're just telling you up front, we're giving you coupons so you can come back. I'm like, that's awesome. That's so cool.
You'll be back. Yeah, I also, one of my best affiliates right now for this show is Bluehost. And I know that's one of your best networks that you go through. And I created a short link to mybluehosting.com. And it just goes right over to their website. I tell people right when I'm talking about it that, I get a little kickback from it. You're not going to get charged anything extra.
That's important.
Yeah. And it's just, they're my best affiliate right now. So it's like, that's the best way to go about doing it. I really liked this is from October 2008. And you have, this is his income report. And let's see, October 2008. And so he just launched that ebook that he was talking about. And, before I forget about this, the Internet Business Mastery Academy, I just recently joined that. And I've been thinking about joining that for years. I've been listening to their podcast. And I've heard them mention you before, and I've heard you mention them before.
Yeah. Kind of a graduate, I guess you could say, on the program.
And, how do you feel the Academy has changed? Was it mainly just getting in and getting together with those like-minded individuals, or did the Academy just really take your drive to next level?
Yes, all of that.
All of that.
I think I really liked Internet Business Mastery Academy because, for one, their first module in their course is about the mindset. That's the first time I was looking to get into courses, and no one talked about the mindset. But I think that's the absolute most important thing to understand. And that's why at the beginning, like I was saying, it's not about luxury and all this stuff. It's about where I want to be and building a business to get there, wherever that may be for you. It's going to be different. So you can tailor your business and what you do to where you want to go instead of the other way around, just trying to, just working for work's sake and not really even understanding where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
So I really like that. And then the community there was very tight and close. And like I said, we were talking in the forums with a bunch of people, and some people were from San Diego, and that's kind of how I met up with that mastermind group. And also there's just good information, it's technically, to learn how to do things. There was something, I obviously knew how to build a WordPress blog already when I joined that course, but there were some things in there that I didn't know about, like the email list and all that stuff, that I learned all that stuff in there too.
Yeah, because that's my goal, is to really create simple to follow step-by-step tutorials and all that information on how to really, from beginning to making money online. And I'm always, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I'm talking to my brother or a best friend or someone that just needs a little extra money. And I'm always very leery when it comes to spending money for that information online, because I feel like I'm going to get scammed, or someone's only going to give me a little information and require more and more money. But I finally broke down and joined the academy because I've heard so many people talking about it. Their podcast is really great, and I was like, I just got to give it a try. And I was really curious to see if that was a big influential change in your business, because that's one of the things that you did from the very beginning.
It was. I mean, they taught me, they put me down the right path, that's for sure.
Yeah, and okay, let's see what we have here. You talking about the automation of the ebook, how that was completely, a new way of making money, and I love that. When you first start making money online and you're sleeping or you're on vacation and you're like, I'm making money right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, it got, it was funny because when I told my dad that I wanted to do online business, he kind of laughed a little bit. He's very traditional. He worked at his job for 45 years and then retired. And he's like, nah, you'd probably be better off, going back to school and maybe getting a master's in architecture, and then the economy will come back around, and then you can, get a better job with better salary later. And I was like, I want to give this a shot.
Yeah.
And so, and now he reads all my income reports. He reads all the comments on my blog. He's very, 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 very supportive. And actually, when I first started making money with the ebook, he was like, oh, you should try this thing. I heard that you can set certain sounds to go off when certain emails come in. Maybe you should put it like a cha-ching whenever you get an email. And so
I've always wanted to do that.
I was actually living at my parents' house at the time I started to launch my ebook, because I had gotten laid off and I was just trying to save as much money as possible. So every once in a while, I set that up and I was like, this is kind of silly. But it would go off like randomly. Like I had to turn it off because it would go off in the middle of the night.
Wow.
So that means I was making sales in the middle of the night. But it was just really cool the fact that I was making sales in the middle of the night, but also that my dad was like getting into it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I really recommend that. That's a great idea. I recently saw that again recently on Breaking Bad, if you watch that show. And so before you start, if you haven't started making money online, hook it up to your PayPal emails or whichever payment processor you have, so you get that little audio note.
It actually does help.
You got a sale.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting woken up at night, which isn't good, but you know, whenever you hear that it's so
empowering.
uplifting.
It must drive you to just keep on doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Okay, so back then we talked about that. Over 7,000 in sales, completely changed your life, and it quickly increased from that point. In this is the figure from May 2012, and I think your income reports, it really it was another thing that nobody was doing, and it was. You could actually look at the numbers, and sure, you could say, "Oh, I don't believe this. This is impossible." And you could hear people saying that, like, "How could he make 40,000 from Bluehost or whatever?" And when you listen to his blog and his podcast, there's no reason. Like, why would you lie? Why would I lie?
That's why. I mean, whenever I get those people who are disbelievers, I'm like, I could show you the screenshots and stuff too, but I could edit those. I mean, I have Photoshop experience from architecture. I could put $1 billion in there. So how do you know if that's going to be true? I'm like, don't look at the numbers. I know people are obviously interested in the numbers, which is why I do that. I mean, no one else is doing it, but that's why in my income reports, most of it is lessons learned. And that's what I think is more valuable than the numbers. And if you follow all the lessons and you have the drive and patience, then you could see that these numbers could actually be true.
Yeah, and that's what, in the past I've thought about doing an income report type thing. And I was like, it just really wouldn't make sense, for me to be delivering that information, because I don't have the content and the information that you've given to really explain how you've made these types of different income. So that's a huge difference. And another thing that I noticed before I talk about this is your niche site duel. When did you start that? Do you know?
That was August of 2010, I think.
August 2010?
I believe so.
So at that point, did you already have a podcast?
I already had a podcast at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, wait. I have so much stuff going on. It's hard for me to get the timeline.
Sorry,
right.
and I'm rushing.
No,
I'm
it's
going
okay.
all over the place too.
It was August 2010, I believe. Yeah.
That you did
That I started the niche site duel. It was July 2010. I started the podcast.
Oh, so it's right around that time. And from the very beginning, did you get a bunch of iTunes listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I did because I had that audience already.
Built up.
But I continue to get emails from people who say they found me through iTunes and now read my blog because they found me on iTunes. I've always wanted to start a podcast. It took me 2 years to finally get up the courage and buy the equipment to do it. I always wanted to do it because it was a podcast that inspired me to get into online business. It was Sterling and Jay's Internet Business Mastery podcast. And so I knew it was a great way to change people's lives and really send a message, but I had no idea I would have this much reach. I mean, it's only been about 2 years now, and I have 1.7 million downloads. If you actually take the amount of time that's like 100 years of lifetime. Someone listening straight through, but I mean, that's a kind of random number, but it's just amazing. And I actually did a survey in my blog last year in preparation for a presentation I did at Blog World Expo about being everywhere, which is, I have my blog, my podcast, my YouTube channel, all this other stuff. So people were really interested in how that all plays a role in my brand. So I did a survey on my blog, not my videos, not my podcast, just my blog. And I asked people, how did you find out about me? And I gave them options. How did you first hear about Smart Passive Income or Pat Flynn? I gave them all the options, social media, Google search, links from another site, Facebook, Twitter, podcast, YouTube. My podcast was the number one way people found me.
Wow.
Out of 10,000, entries. So that's a good sample size to see, and I was blown away.
Yeah, because I was just about to ask you, do you think you've received most of your audience from your website or from iTunes? I mean, from your podcast?
It's in the data. They tell me that's my podcast. And second was YouTube, actually.
Wow.
And then third was links from other sites. And I've been lucky enough to be featured on some quality sites like ProBlogger or Entrepreneur's Journey and stuff. So they're obviously going to send me traffic, but YouTube and podcasting, I wanted to talk about how I made this whole brand out of, not just a blog, but being on all these different channels. But it really changed my presentation, and that became the focus, that you have to expand out of your blog if you want to get more people on your site. That just like what we're doing right now. You're on Roku and all these other things, being everywhere. That's great. That's what helps you stand out. I think that's what's helped me stand out from all the other people out there.
And that's my whole idea too. When I think it was about a year ago, I was just, I was listening to your show, and I wasn't really considering at that point, teaching this information. I was already creating tons of content around the idea to try to help some friends and family and things like that. And I was afraid of talking on video, and I was afraid of doing interviews and all that stuff. And you were everywhere. And I was like, man, I could do this. So I decided to duplicate your model, be everywhere. And the more I was like, I'll learn how to do an iTunes podcast. I'll learn how to shoot video. I'll learn how to put it up on YouTube. And I'll learn how to distribute it to as many different places as possible. And at that time, I heard about Roku, which gives you the ability to watch internet video on your TV. And so you could watch YouTube, you could watch tons of internet related content, as well as Netflix. I mean, most people get it for Netflix, I think. And I was like, I could have a private channel on here. How can I do that? So I contacted them, got into the developers forum, and I was like, wow, this would be great, because this is almost like a market of people that might not spend as much time in front of their computer than, other people that have already found that information. So I'll share this information with them. Yeah, and I really appreciate that idea came from you. Be everywhere. And I really think it's helped my business, and it's something that, continues to affect my business. I get people contacting me about how I've helped them and how they'd like to help me. I don't have products or services, but I follow the same philosophy that I pretty much learned from you about affiliate marketing. And that's where the bulk of your income is coming from.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, back originally we have over 7,000 in ebook sales and around 600 in Google Adsense. And I know that increased substantially over the period following months, but I just wanted to pull out the first one there. But now we're down to, you have the Green Exam Academy product sales. That's the lead. That's the ebook. Did you have to rewrite it or anything?
I did have to rewrite it because every 3 or 4 years they changed the exam. And they did that in between there. So I did have to rewrite it, but that only takes a month, and I'd happily sacrifice a month, a couple hours a day for 3 or 4 years of thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Work hard now, reap the benefits later.
Yeah. And that's what, the whole philosophy is, it's not going to happen overnight. It's nothing that you're going to flip a switch and start making money tomorrow. You got to work hard now so you could enjoy it later. And, I'm also trying to pay off my mortgage and go completely debt free and stuff. And it's the same thing, you feel the pain now, or I forgot what the saying is, but same thing, like live like no one else does today so you can live like no one else does tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, but your Green Exam Academy is still amazing. You're making over almost 3,000 a month off of that still. Your niche site and the security guard training, that came from the niche site tool?
That came from the niche site tool, yeah.
And that's amazing. That's like
a couple thousand, 1,500, a couple thousand a month.
And with that,
I don't touch that site at all now. I'm experimenting with new ways to make money off of it because I think there's huge potential there. But as far as the income that's generating on it now, I don't do anything to make that happen. And
with the niche site tool, what was the idea behind doing the niche site tool? Because I know it's extremely popular and I love it. But what was the idea behind it?
Actually, it wasn't even my idea. A friend of mine, Tyrone Shum, he emailed me one day and was like, do you know how to build niche sites? And I was like, no. He's like, I don't either. Let's try to do it together. And I was like, okay. So we just do a little mini mastermind and just share each other. They're like, no, let's make it. I was like, no, we should share this with everybody because I don't think anyone else knows how to build one either. Or you can learn how to build one if you pay $49 a month on this course or this course. And we're like, sweet, let's just do it together. It's great. We'll have 2 kind of case studies going at the same time so we can really see if these methods work. Or, and his whole thing was, he is an outsourcing person, so he has people to do it for him, like write the content, do the research, build the site. And I was like, okay, you're doing the outsourcing part. I want to see if I can do this all on my own. And so we had, those were our differences, and we both got to #1 in Google within 3 months. Wow. And started making money off of those sites. And now it's just taken off as one of the most kind of transparent, authentic kind of step-by-step processes that's out there for free on how to build one of these types of websites. And the funny thing about that related to affiliate marketing is, that process of building a niche site, I shared everything step by step, including those tools and services like I was talking about earlier, like hosting and then, backlinking tools and things like that. The day I got to #1, I noticed an uptick in affiliate sales because people had that proof that process actually worked.
Yeah.
And they can actually go into Google and type security guard training and see my site there at #1. So my affiliate sales for hosting, it went up all around for all those products and services I was talking about. But just to give you some perspective, I was making $4,000 to $5,000 a month from hosting before the niche site tool. Now that's pretty good. After I got to number one in Google, a month later, $15,000.
Oh, wow. So people were like, he can do it. He did it.
Yeah, and
There's
that's
step-by-step instructions.
that's not just talking the talk; it's walking the walk. And I
Yeah.
think in order to really succeed online, you have to walk the walk.
Yeah.
So all these people email me, and a lot of people email me and say, "Do you think this is a good idea for a site?" And I would say that maybe half of them are building sites about online business or teaching people how to do online business. And it kind of frustrates me that they do that, not because I think they're competitors or anything like this, but I ask them, I'm like, have you been successful in online business yet? And they say, no, but I know the tactics it would take to get there. Well, you're just going to be part of the crowd. I mean, you're just going to get lost in the crowd in the sea of people who are also doing the same thing. You really have to. It was when I had that proof from Green Exam Academy, from the niche site tool, from my iPhone apps. That's what's differentiating me from everyone else who's doing this. So in whatever niche you're in, show results and real results. You can't just put out a book and say it's going to do something, but actually go through the processes and share that information and be upfront and authentic about everything.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I was wondering how the niche site tool, played out in the whole scheme of things. That makes a lot of sense. And is there any plans for any future niche site tools? I'm sure people hit you up.
Not a niche site tool. I mean, the niche site kind of model is tougher now.
Yeah.
I guess it's not impossible to get into, but it's tougher now because Google is cracking down on sites that are low quality. Now, my site's still at number one because I made sure it was a high quality site. But a lot of people go through the steps and they don't spend as much time as they should on the content, or they do some gray or black hat things that they shouldn't have that they read elsewhere. And as a result, their sites get knocked down, or they just don't rank as high as they should. So if you're going to build a niche site, you can still do it. And I'm still building niche sites on the side, and they're doing really well. It's just taking a lot longer to see results, and you kind of have to be more careful, or actually go through the steps like you should be going through the steps. But what I want to do is I actually want to, and this is something for the near future actually, is I want to get into a market that's pretty saturated, and I want to just blow people's minds with something that is new and innovative in that market, something more authoritative, something much bigger than a site that can make $2,000-$3,000 a month. That's something huge.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a cool case study to do, just like Niche Site Tool was, but kind of a different perspective, and to just show people, because I know I can do it if I just have to do it, and I have that much confidence, and you need that confidence too. But I think it would be a good, inspiring case study to get into a more saturated niche instead of trying to find these long tail keywords like.
Right.
Instead of trying to find a site for, golden retriever puppies in Alabama.
Right.
That's
I ranked number one.
Yeah, for golden retriever puppies in Alabama. But getting into like the car industry.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you have any ideas of?
I have some ideas.
Yeah.
I have some ideas. I'm not set in stone on anything yet, but I do have some ideas, and I really want to go big and bold with those ideas, and I think that's really what it's all about.
That would be great. I mean, I would really look forward to some like case study on dominating a completely saturated niche.
Yeah, and it's been done. I mean, I don't know if you know the guys from the minimalists.com. Ryan and Josh, they are just killing it in that industry, and there were so many minimalist type blogs out there, but they came in on the scene. They've only been on the scene for about a year and a half now. Really new, and they have bestseller books out already. They got hundreds of thousands of subscribers.
Wow.
Just because they took that unique angle with it.
Yeah.
I actually have them on as guests on my podcast if you want to listen to exactly how they did that. But yeah, that's getting me really excited.
Yeah. So that's sounds like your new big project.
That's my new big project. Yeah, and I know, that's just the entrepreneurial spirit in me. Just keep trying new things and seeing what I can do with it.
Well, that's great that you're not just, just sitting back and completely 100% enjoying it. I mean, that's great and everything. I know you're a super busy man.
But I enjoy what I do too. I mean, that's enjoyable to me. So in that regard, it's not really work at all, but it's just experimenting.
It's a project.
Yeah.
It's that entrepreneurial spirit, I wanted to, wanted to hear more about that. I wasn't sure if you were going to be going more into the direction of iTunes applications, or if you had something really big in the future, or if you're going to focus on niche sites, even though those, are getting difficult. But it sounds like you have.
Yeah, I have a good 2-year plan.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But I'm really excited about it, and I am going to be sharing everything as it goes on.
When do you think you're going to get started? Just out of curiosity.
Oh gosh, it's we're having a second baby, so that's going to kind of decrease the amount of time I have to put into things. But lots of people are having babies.
Yeah.
So if I could do it when I have a baby, then that means anyone can do it, I think.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a great challenge, and probably in the next, hopefully before the end of the year, I'll get that started, because I have some other things going on. I want to wrap up some other projects I have. I want to dive into the Amazon Kindle market, see what that's like, and share that information as well. I've been hearing a lot of good things about that. And as far as being everywhere, I think that's the next step for me, to try and get some new eyes on the brand, and again, just show people what the process is like, because I think that would be a really easy way to create a product, relatively speaking.
Yeah,
for people
true.
in any industry.
Yeah, and that's when we go through the affiliate sales on your websites, you show like some of the biggest numbers that I see are like Market Samurai. That's just a great keyword tool that I also recommend people to use. You could use the Google external keyword tool for free, but that cuts down your time. Your Bluehost, everyone's got to have a blog. Your thesis, you have so many different products. I don't know how many are here total, but maybe 20, 25.
I think so,
more?
Yeah.
I don't know, more. But in May, he brought in over $40,000 in affiliate marketing sales. And that is totally crazy. And if you go to his website, which I completely urge you to go to smartpassiveincome.com and just look at it. And it's not crazy sell information.
I don't sell, or I don't really pitch anything. I let the relationships I build with my audience and the experience that I have with the products that I'm recommending be the pitch.
Yeah.
So I'm not pitching at all.
Yeah. I just love that. And your iPhone apps, you're doing great at 4,700. And are you planning on doing more of that stuff?
Yeah, the it's getting a lot tougher, and a lot of the good developers are getting kind of picked up by a lot of the bigger name brands out there right now. So it's we've just been kind of keeping our existing apps updated, and it's getting tougher to get into that market.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's one thing I wouldn't suggest a novice going anywhere in that direction at all.
Right, or I wouldn't spend my last $1,000 to build an app for that.
Yeah.
No way. But if you have an extra bit laying around, and maybe you have a niche community that would be into something like that, if you build, then by all means, go for it.
Yeah, and some other people are doing some income report type stuff here, and now they're copying you.
That's great. I think that's how it should be. Especially if you're teaching online.
If it's true.
I hope it's true. But my thing is, part of the other reason why I do it is because it's like people are investing their time with me to learn these things. I want to make sure that they are confident in what I'm teaching them. It's sort of like stock companies and stocks. They do quarterly reports and quarterly earning reports to show their investors where they're headed, and to let their investors make an educated decision whether or not they should keep investing with them or just even get into an investment with them. Yeah. So I think of that as the same way, and people may or may not be investing their money with me through these products, but they're definitely going to be investing their time, and I want to make sure their time is well worth it. And so that's why I'm very open and honest about everything.
And I don't look at the numbers and say in terms of just numbers' sake. The numbers don't really mean anything to me, but it's almost more like looking at a dream, or it's just like, I could be doing this exact same thing. And I'm sure it inspires a lot of people just to be finally like, I could do this,
Yeah.
I'm going to just do it.
And then that's really the main reason why I do it. If you go into some of my income reports, some of the comments are just like, oh my God, this inspires me like crazy, or thank you so much, I'm going to start working right now. And that's kind of why I do what I do, just to get people to take action and share everything so they can take the right action. I share my mistakes as much as I share all the wins.
Right. Yeah, and I really like, included is this was from April, but it's you also have an expense report. You split up where you've money has gone out, and I think that even helps people get an idea of the costs when it comes to doing these types of ventures.
Hmm.
Some stuff will cost you really nothing.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started, I mean, you look at that expense report, that's from April, 2011, I think.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
there's a few $1,000s in there, but that's because I've done this for a while and I need all the upgraded servers to handle the traffic, and I have a CPA and I have a lawyer just in case and all that stuff,
yeah.
which costs money. But in the beginning, I didn't have that stuff. All I did was pay $4.95 a month for domain and hosting, and that's it. That's when I built the lead exam kind of information site.
Yeah.
And then to launch that ebook, it was just time and $5 a month on eJunkie to help process the payments for me.
Right.
That's it. And so that's why in my expense report, I also include time and how much time certain things take.
Yeah, because that's really important. I mean, you're investing your time to reap the rewards in the future, and it's not going to happen overnight. And luckily, you had that knowledge, and that's what it took. What was that spark? Other than you saw the traffic, and you decide, I have to do something for my family right now. Did that just?
It was just a combination of everything. I mean, I think really the underlying factor in motivation was to do something for my family. And so that's why in whatever I do, I always make sure to put my best foot forward.
Yeah.
Or make sure I research it so I don't make a mistake that would have not happened if I didn't put as much effort into it. So yeah, it's really, I mean, family is the most important thing to me. So every decision I make is for them, for my kids.
Yeah, that really shows. And it looks like, you're designing your lifestyle, and it's the same thing that I've been doing as well, is you're trying to create a better lifestyle, better quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that means, I can really only work 20 to 30 hours a week, or 40 hours a week even. Some people work 80 hours a week. And just because your time is so valuable and so limited that you want to be able to spend it with your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's great. And, most of my viewers, they're really just getting started in this industry. And, but lately I've been getting a lot of emails lately from people saying, I need to make some money now. I just need a little bit of money to make ends meet at the end of the month. And then I do get those other emails about people that are looking to put in the time and energy and really, follow the steps and techniques that it takes to create passive income streams or to start earning a good income on time. I know you don't do a lot with any type of make money now type stuff.
No, I stay away from that. Like it's hot coal. I just don't touch it.
Yeah, but what do you think about in terms of there are tremendous opportunities to make money online when it comes to like Odesk or Elance or they're not passive in any way, and that's why I know you don't ever really cover this information. But at some point, you're writing articles for eHow or InfoJunkie or InfoBarrel?
InfoBarrel.
Yeah. And do you think there's still opportunities like that exist where people, they might just need extra $100 at the end of the month? Are there places? Because surveys don't ever try to do surveys.
I've done that, and it doesn't work. It just takes up way too much time to get like 75 cents or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. To really build a passive income business, that's going to take time.
Yeah.
And in order to build a passive income business, nothing happens overnight. Absolutely. But there are ways, like you were saying, to make money a little bit quicker if you absolutely need it.
Yeah.
And, like you were saying, freelancing is a big thing. I mean, that word kind of encompasses everything. That's true. Helping people with something that helping them understand that better or do something for them. Whether it's article writing, or maybe you were a lawyer in your previous life, then you can offer law services on sites like Elance or Odesk, or maybe you're a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Article writing, sites like eHow, you can't write on that, and you can't write on eHow anymore and get paid for it. They closed that program, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That one was the best one to do. Now there's InfoBarrel, which is great. The basic idea behind InfoBarrel is you can write articles on their site instead of building your own blog and your own website and having to worry about design and traffic and SEO and stuff like that, you can write on their site. So all you have to do is produce content, and then they place ads on those on your articles, and you get a certain percentage of the income that comes through all the clicks.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say that would be an immediate thing either.
Yeah,
because it takes time for Google to see those articles, and you have to write well. I like InfoBarrel because you can see a little bit of income come in, and even just seeing a penny comes in changes people's mindset. So that's why I always say if you're trying to get into online business but you're not sure what to do, start writing. And there's no better place than InfoBarrel because you can learn kind of how to write online. You can kind of get your creative juices and your kind of hands flowing with your words and stuff, and you can see a small amount of results a lot quicker than if you were to do something much bigger. And then you can take what you learn from there and build your own site potentially if that's something you're into.
Yeah, because I've been getting a lot of emails about it, so I was brainstorming before we met today, and I was thinking, I guess if people went to Fiverr, they could possibly do some stuff with graphics, but you're not making a whole lot of money.
I think Olance and Elance would be the best. Or if you know anybody that needs help, you could be like a virtual assistant.
That's true.
And that can be pretty lucrative.
Yeah, because some people I know, they're excellent, have great English skills, great writers, all that stuff. And I've referred them to Elance and Odesk just because people need blog posts, they need articles written.
Ghostwriters for their books. And
tons of stuff like that. There's a lot of writing opportunities, and a lot of them get paid pretty well. So I was just curious if you had any ideas in that area. And in addition, if we're looking at something in the long term, though, do you have any tips and advice on, really where to get started, what to do? What would you do if you had to kind of start all over?
I would start a blog.
You'd start a blog?
I would start a blog, yeah. And I would start a blog with the intention of building a community behind it. As opposed to a niche site, I'm not going to build a community about golden retriever dogs in Alabama or anything like that. I want to build something around where I can get a group of people together excited about something. I mean, maybe it is golden retrievers in Alabama. It could very well be that, but something that you're excited about, and if you're passionate about something, create about that. If you don't necessarily have any passions, start to just write and build a blog about something you're interested in, and you can maybe potentially love to be passionate, or you potentially learn to be passionate about it, and then get a community behind it. And that's the community. I mean, your readers and your subscribers and your community. That's who's gonna go through your affiliate links. That's who's gonna click your advertising links or buy your products. I mean, that's the most important thing. Without them, you have no business at all. So it's really all about building that community and trying to facilitate discussion and conversation and interest. And and I mean, there's so many opportunities out there. And my advice to anyone would just be go big with it. Don't put yourself in a situation where at the beginning you're just immediately going to be lost in the crowd. You need to find your unique selling proposition, your USP. I think it was Lane Aman. She was on a podcast of mine. She actually makes 6 figures a year from scrapbooking.
Wow.
Yeah. So you could do anything.
Yeah.
Really. But she has this really cool quote, and she got it from someone else, and I apologize. I don't remember the name who she got it from, but you have to know what your unfair advantage is and use that. So her unfair advantage was she was actually in the scrapbooking industry writing in journals, and so she had all these connections, and then what she did was she created like a online webinar or summit, basically like a weekend of classes that people could sign up to, and she invited all of her connections in to be instructors.
Oh,
so that was her unfair advantage, something that no one else could really do as good as she did.
All on scrapbooking.
All on scrapbooking. Yeah. Layoutaday.com is her site. And so you have to really figure out, well, what's going to differentiate you from anyone else? Why should people come and listen to you? And that's something that's not going to click overnight. You really have to dive into that and really see what it is.
Yeah.
For Smart Passive Income, it's me just being honest and open and upfront about everything. It's the income reports. That's kind of what separates me out from everybody else.
Yeah.
And talking about my failures as much as my my successes, and that's what differentiates me in this particular industry.
Yeah.
In the security guard training website that I have, what stands out from that site is you can easily find, no matter where you are located in the U.S., exactly the steps it takes to become a security guard. There was no resource like that out there already, because every state has a different set of requirements. So I just compiled all that information. I'm actually calling security guard companies around the nation to figure out exactly what I needed to do.
Wow.
I was actually like, hey, I'm moving to Alabama. I didn't want to say, I'm starting this niche site. But,
Right.
I was like, hey, I'm moving to Alabama. What do I need to do to become a security guard? And they would tell me.
Yeah.
And that's how I got that information. That's out of box work. But
Wow.
I put all that information on a website, and now it's people are using it. I actually have a job board on that site, and people are getting jobs as security guards thanks to my site. And I think that's so awesome. I think that's kind of, you can't just build a site and hope. You have to actually provide something that adds value to people's lives.
And that's what we've been doing inside your blog. And I think, I'm definitely one of those people too that have bought through your affiliate link just because you provide so much tremendous value and information. And it's like, this is all for free. I'd like to be able to repay this person, and I totally believe in karma. So it's like, I'm going to try to help him out since he is helping me out so much. And
not everyone's going to repay you. I get thousands of visitors to my site, but it only takes a few of them to go through my links to really create a significant income for me.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. It doesn't take that many lives.
So if you could position yourself, you have an unfair advantage, or you're really passionate about something.
Yeah, or what do your friends and family go to you for advice for?
Yeah.
That's a great question to ask yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's some really great information. I was recently listening. I probably listened to your podcast twice. All the way through. I think you're up to episode 41.
41, yeah.
Yeah, and it's titled "How to Stop Hoping and Start Earning." And I was just like, wow, this is great. This is exactly what I wanted to make this whole interview about. And we need to wrap this up because we're about to get sunburnt out here. Holy cow, it's getting hot. But I really like that, and that's really where it kind of encompassed just you're forming a relationship with people, and really, can you explain?
Yeah, I guess the quickest example would be kind of the same way that Joe Cross does it in his documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. What he does in that documentary is exactly what I'm doing and what I'm trying to teach people to do. So in this documentary, he's an Australian guy. His name's Joe Cross, and he at the beginning he's just really fat. He's really sick. He has chronic skin diseases, and he goes to the doctor and says you only have X days to live or X years to live because you're just living such an unhealthy lifestyle, because he was just eating really bad. So he was nearly dead. Oh. So he did this really bold thing. It's important to do bold things in your business. He decided that he was going to go to the U.S. and just drink juice for 60 days. Just drink vegetable juice like celery, carrots, kale, and lemons and spinach in juice 3-4 times a day for 60 days. And then he shared this very intimately, his experience going through this process of cleansing and helping to become a better and healthier person, through all the struggles, through all the joys, and he shot some video of him going into this hamburger place and how much he just wanted a hamburger, all the struggles, and then at the end he was thin, his face was thin, he was smiling, his complexion was so much better, he didn't have to take any pills anymore for his skin diseases, and he was just happier. And you saw it, and it was proof. He actually showed numbers, data that showed how much healthier he was. And he found a couple other people who were fat, sick, and nearly dead along the way to help them too, and they experienced the same results. Wow! And so we got to know Joe. He was very personal. He was very intimate about everything he was going through. And by the end of that documentary, it wasn't 30 minutes after that I already had a receipt in my Amazon or in my email from Amazon for a new Breville juicer. Really? I swear, I bought a juicer right then and there.
That's funny.
And if there was an affiliate link to click through, I would have absolutely been more than happy to click through it.
Wow.
But that's how, there was no pitch. There was no, you should buy a juicer. He just shared his experiences and became a person. Joe Cross, I talk about this guy with everybody. And it's just an amazing experience that he shared, and the results and the proof, and just got me to really take action and want to change my life too. Yeah. So that's really what it's all about: doing something, sharing it, and experiencing it, while wanting to change and add value to other people's lives.
Yeah.
And that's what I do with Smart Passive Income. That's what I want to do. That's what I do with Green Exam Academy. That's what I encourage other people to do too in their businesses, you know.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you spending this time
Sure.
today with us. You know, at the end of that episode 41, you had a little quote here. Well, it's your quote, of course, but it says, "Your earnings are a byproduct of how helpful you could be to your audience." And I totally agree with that. And I think that, you know, you keep on doing that over and over and over. And, you know, thanks for sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Man, whew, we should go hop in that bowl.
Let's do it on camera right now.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right.
Sweet. Wow, that was a real great interview with Pat Flynn. You know, if you'd like to find out more information about Pat, you could visit his blog at smartpassiveincome.com or sign up to his show on iTunes, Smart Passive Income. Again, thanks again, Pat, for doing that interview with me. Really appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Take care. Well, I hope you really enjoyed that episode. You know, I've been receiving a lot of really good comments and questions off of my website about how to earn money. So what I'd like you to do, if you're interested, is send me an email. You know, any questions, comments, and I will be answering any type of questions and answering the comments in my upcoming shows. So just visit the website here, submit your information, and I'm going to be answering those for you. Another great thing is a lot of people have been going into iTunes and rating my show in there. I'm not sure if you're watching it on iTunes or YouTube or Roku, but in iTunes, you know, you just log in, give me a 5-star rating, or is it 5-star or is it 3? I'm not sure. Find out. Just go there and rate my show and put in a comment there. That really helps me out get more exposure and able to bring more shows to you. Same thing with Roku. Just go to the title screen for the show, rate me in there, and that just brings in more viewers. So I really appreciate that. Really helps me out a lot. And if you're looking for that WordPress hosting, want to get a WordPress website up instantly, go to mybluehosting.com, send me the information if you'd like, and I'll install your WordPress blog for you. So thanks again for spending your time with me, and until next time, just do it.